Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How the devil are you? So, last week, I was really talking about connecting with your client and some of the trouble spots that we have. So, this week, I thought I'd take it that little bit further. And because I did say, you've got to show empathy. So, I thought, let's talk about empathy. Let's talk about understanding because empathy has two sides, doesn't it? We've got the empathy side that we're handing out all that empathy. We're giving it away. And I consider that it's actually like an empathy bucket. We have a bucket of empathy within us, and we reach burnout when that bucket is permanently empty. So we have to, that doesn't mean to say that we're tight with our empathy like we would be. Well, I don't want to spend that on that thing. And, oh, I don't want to give out any more empathy than I have to. Empathy is a whole. So one appointment is a scoop from that bucket. It's not each time you're empathetic, there's a scoop comes out. It's each appointment has a level of empathy involved. Each interaction as a whole, that empathy bucket is being used. So what I've found over the years is I actually have a maximum number of clients that I can see a week without going into burnout to maintain my intellectual karma and my capacity and my ability to do my job, which has always meant I've had to have two jobs. I can't just have this as my one job. Because I've wanted to see people in other environments. I've wanted to talk to people about different things. So when I was nursing and seeing clients, that was a pretty heavy empathy draw, wasn't it? Because, I was working as a nurse and all of these people needed care and support, but very differently to the way I give it as a naturopath and nutritionist. So, but and a couple of things which I'll get to in a minute with this empathy. There's some things we have to do that make it even harder not to use up our empathy in a way, because we do have to withhold judgment. And judgment, when I look through, social media and that's huge right now. Everybody's judging everybody. My mother, who died recently, I'm sure you know, if you've been listening, have you been listening, active listening? But you might not know, and that's fine too. So I don't want to judge you. We need to think about, what my mother always said, and that was, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Because there's a lot of people saying a lot of really horrible things right now, and those are judgments, and they come from us, right? They come from inside us. That's not, oh, I don't like that pink dress. Well, that's my judgment. That person wearing the pink dress probably loves the pink dress, or they wouldn't have bought it. They wouldn't be wearing it. So that's my judgment. And I can keep that inside. I don't need to say that out loud. But when we're with our clients, we're not going to say, oh, pink dress, gosh, you look awful today, or that colour's not very good with your skin tone, are we? What we might see, though, is that the yellow dress does bring out the yellowness of their skin, which makes us question what's their liver function like and makes us take a bigger look. No, their liver function's fine. They just have olive skin that's a bit sallow at the moment. Maybe that's a lack of energy. Let's ask about their energy levels. So, you know, sometimes with judgment, we can just turn it around into an interest point for ourselves and a questioning point. But we need to make sure that we don't foist our judgment on others, that we don't, in our so as a nurse, I remember once when I was a student nurse, I was in recovery as a student nurse, and the nurse that I was shadowing turned around. It was a child. It was pediatrics, and the child had come out from theatre. I don't know what the kid had done, grommets, tonsils, no clue, can't remember, too long ago. But we had to put a blanket on it because they come out from theatre, and then you have to rewarm the patients because they get really cold in theatre. And we were rewarming this child, and she said, I would never send my child to hospital with old undies, old knickers like that. I think it's dreadful. And I looked at her and I thought, well, she said, oh, I think it's awful. Why wouldn't you send them in decent knickers? And I looked at her and I thought, well, yeah, you got to wear good knickers in case you get run over by a bus because you're an adult. That's the old story, isn't it? Always wear your best knickers when you go out in case you get run over by a bus. But for a child, this mother's being really logical because the child might actually soil those knickers and then they can just be thrown away. So there's always two sides to a conversation, and there's always two sides to what we're thinking. And when it comes to judgment and empathy, which is where we started in this conversation, empathy can just drain out of our bucket when we're judging because we're bringing in all these other emotions. We're bringing in anger, we're bringing in distrust, we're bringing in all of our angst from our background, from our upbringing, and all of the things. So our empathy bucket will empty even faster when we're judging our clients. They come in and they say, oh, yeah, I have, 4 Coca-Colas a day. My brother-in-law drinks Coca-Cola. I cannot believe somebody drinks that much fizzy drink every day. It's bad for your teeth, And he's like, well, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink hot drinks. I'm like, yeah, okay. But, could you not replace one of those colas with kombucha or something that's actually going to give you benefit? No, it's what I like. Okay, I don't judge. That's you. It's just not going in my fridge. Done. Because I don't want other people. I actually can't stand the taste of cola, of any cola, anywhere. Never liked it. Birthday parties as a child, you go to the birthday party and the parent be like, oh, I've got Coca-Cola. Who wants Coca-Cola? And I'd be like, no, thank you. I have water. And they'd be like, oh, you're so annoying, Geraldine. But see, judgment. There's always judgment, but that is emptying your empathy bucket. So, what are your boundaries around your empathy bucket, right? So, mine were 15 clients a week. And then my brain started to spill over. I couldn't be organized enough. I couldn't get things done. My kids noticed. They were little when I made this realization that that was my maximum. And I know some people sit in an office and they see one after another, after another, after another, after another, like GPs do. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I cannot listen to this story for an hour for a first appointment or 45 minutes for a second appointment and listen and listen and listen to all of these people and all of their stuff without exhausting myself mentally. Okay. So, when we're listening to our clients, what judgment will want us to interrupt. So we need to avoid that judgment. We need to avoid those interruptions because we can formulate our responses while the speaker is talking, which means that we can avoid those judgment statements. We can, turn that frown upside down, another of my mother's sayings, although that's everybody's saying, isn't it, really? We can think about, well, they've said, rather than me doing shocked face, you drink so many colas every day, I can go, what other, carbonated drink, rather than calling it a fizzy drink, what other carbonated drink do you drink that we could perhaps swap one of those out for? Let's just, you say you drink 4 a day. Can we initially get it down to 3 by swapping out one of those and see how you go with one swapped out? And then ultimately we can look at swapping out 2 of them and then maybe 3 of them, and then that becoming an occasional drink because it's not good for your teeth, it's not good for your gut. It's not actually, there is some suggestion. I remember in college years ago, and somebody put it in one of the Facebook groups. They said, is it true that carbonated drinks aren't good for your bones? And then everybody started searching for research, and none of us can find this research that we got told when we were training 20 plus years ago. Now, of course, none of that really old research is used. So if anyone's doing cola research in bone health, if they could send that bit of research my way, that'd be great. But it's certainly not good for the teeth, discolors the teeth. And of course, it's not good for our guts to be having highly processed drinks all of the time. So we've got to think about, how we swap things out rather than judging as we swap things out. How much empathy is being used with each client, and not how we can store it or gatekeep our empathy, but how we can use it constructively so that they gain the most from their interaction with us. We are left with a minimal amount of homework from the client, because there's always homework, isn't there, for us. We give our clients homework, but we always have homework in the form of research, looking up, trying to find that carbonation and bone piece of research that no one can find all of a sudden, so that we can go through and use our energy wisely by not judging, by really formulating our response before it comes out of our mouth, taking that time to listen. And they appreciate it. Our clients know we're listening. They can feel us listening when we're just doing the correct responses rather than interrupting. It gives us time to really put together the results for them and the formula for them if we're not constantly talking and trying to fill a gap, which was something that I always used to do. I don't do it anymore, but I certainly used to do it. And now I will sit. I'm happy with my friends. I'm happy to sit and let there be silence. And that's nice. But it's taken a long time to get to this place. So, how much empathy are you using? How much judging are we doing? How much understanding are we able to give in each appointment to our client? So that's your homework today. At your next appointment with your next client, to be aware as soon as judgment jumps in, to look at that judgment. Maybe you have to just quickly write it down so you remember what it is, and so that you can look at it later. What did that judgment say to you about you? Why did you want to leap in and make that comment about something they've said or something they've done? And then go over what was my response to that after I'd stopped and formulated that response, after I hadn't said, oh, I know, which is what I wanted to say. We don't want to say that ever, do we? After I'd squashed all my initial responses, my immediate responses, and given a nod, perhaps, or an one of these responses, rather than leaping in with our answer. Is it an answer, or our judgment, or our response? How did we get on doing that? So that is your homework. So all homework at the moment is related to the consult itself. How are you doing with the timings? How are you doing with processing the whole system? And is your system working? You can make an appointment with me and we can have a chat, right? So how is that whole process working? Be good to hear your thoughts. So Geraldine at mentoringwithgeraldine.biz is the email. There's no spam folder in that email, so it means that I do actually get all the emails. But there's no autoresponder, so I will actually reply. I chosen not to put an autoresponder on there except when I'm on holiday, so that I see each and every email that comes through to it. So interesting, hey? Right then, I'm going to leave it there. And next time, we're still going to keep talking about this. This is, I think April, May should be the month of listening and actioning and really thinking about the appointment and the systems you have within your appointment and how that affects the overall appointment and what you're doing. So, right, I'm going to leave it there. It's been lovely chatting, me chatting, and hopefully you listening. Hopefully you got to listen to it all and you weren't interrupted all the way through. Go back and listen again, hey. Now, I'm going to leave it there. Have a good one. And you know the deal. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you leave me that 5-star review. You've been dying to give. Just scroll down. It's so easy to do. Right. Have a good one. Catch you soon. See ya.